Alright, it's Henry again, and this video is way overdue, but this is the first work in progress video for my Mega Size Zaku 2. And this is, of course, my build off with Zaku Raelius. And, man, I did the unboxing video like 2 months ago, and since then the holidays have happened, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I've moved. And then I painted 2 little high grades, and yeah. So this video has been a long time coming, but finally able to do it. Not only those reasons I just mentioned, but also I started out with one idea for this kit, and then decided to just completely go in a different direction. So my original idea was pretty simple, actually. I was just going to do a just a Mega Size Zaku 2 and paint it in black TriStar colors. There's actually a P Bandai kit that is a black TriStar Zaku 2S, and it's basically just the Master Grade Char 2.0 recolored in black TriStar colors with some new decals. And that's what I was going to do, and the only modification I was planning on doing to it really was some LEDs for the eye and the machine gun, and then these energy cables. And although they do look pretty good, I wanted to add some texture in between them, because the spaces in between the energy cables have no texture at all. So I got this paracord, and I wasn't going to leave it white. I was going to paint it gray, because I couldn't find gray. All I could find was white. But my plan was to take these and chop them up into the individual pipe segments. So you see I already had them all labeled out, and I got a few of them done, and basically chopping them up and then drilling out the holes so that I could run this paracord through it, and then I would just glue it into place with a wire or something to all the connection points. Well, I gotta tell you, that got old really, really fast. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any like pre-made third-party pipe segments in 1/48 scale or a size big enough. I guess I could have done it with just plastic tubes and made them myself, but this seemed easier, and even then it was still a huge pain in the butt. And I just kind of got burnt out on it, and I said, you know what if I just converted it into a Zaku 1. That sounds like more work than what I was doing, but honestly I would rather have converted it into a Zaku 1 than have to deal with those pipe segments for another minute. So I thought, oh yeah, they make a black TriStar Zaku 1, I can do that. And then I thought, what if I got a little bit creative? What if I did a Dokuro Zaku? Now, for those of you who don't know what the Dokuro Zaku is, here it is. It's from the Plamo Kyoshiro manga, the same place that Perfect Gundam and Red Warrior come from. And it's basically a Zaku 1 with a skeleton painted on it. Its heat hulk is a little bit different, it's a little bit bigger, and it's got a skull head with the mono eye. And Tool for Toys was working on one of these a couple years ago. Don't know if he ever finished it or not. They don't make any kits of the Dokuro Zaku. The only actual physical product I've seen of it is like a little stand art figure or something. Not even like a proper action figure. It's just, you can only move like the head and then the shoulders, and that's it. But that's what I'm doing. So not all the parts are going to have to be modified, but some of them are. Let's see, I think all this stuff, I'm going to have to modify these front skirts a little bit, but all this stuff over here is not really going to be modified at all. Skirt armor, the feet, that's all the joint parts. Hands, elbow joints, shoulder joints, knee joints, stuff like that. I guess I'll start from the bottom and work my way up. Here's the lower leg. I puttied over the hole where the energy cables went in, and really all I've got to do at this point is just scribe a little panel line going across there, and that'll be done. On the back of the leg, I Decided to keep these thrusters because I'm pretty sure they were present on the Dokuro Zaku, and I just had to putty over this thruster in the middle. And then, oops, the Zaku 1 has this funny arch in the back of the leg. I just cut that out with my heat knife, and I've still got to go back and sand that and smooth that out, but you know, it's pretty much done. Let's see, the thighs that are over here. Is this get two that'll fit together. There we go. Again, pretty simple. All I had to do was fill in that hole where the energy cable's connected. I've got a little bit of a gap in that one that I still need to fill in. Let's see, I wonder, yeah, that one doesn't have quite as much of a gap, but just fill in a little bit there and those will be good to go. Let's see, skirt armor, just from the way that the Zaku 1's front skirt and belly area is different. I'm going to have to add, like, with some plot plate, a little notch right there at the top of the skirt armor, but that's pretty much it. Side and back skirts aren't going to change at all. Let's see, as for the torso, this part I covered it with putty and then smoothed that out. Still got a little bit of cleanup to do here around the edges, but I'll probably maybe scrub some panel lines, I don't know. That's pretty much going to be covered up because the Dokuro Zaku has this big chest plate, which is the reason why I've got the cockpit hatch sanded down so much. He's got this big, just big flat featureless chest plate that goes over the cockpit hatch, and then it's got the rib cage painted on top of it. So I've already kind of got the plot plate pieces cut out for it. I'm going to do it in 4 segments. I'll have like here and here, and it's got a panel line going through the middle of it. And then I'll put these two down here, and then once they're cut to shape, I'll do the curve just with epoxy putty, because curving plot plate is a huge pain in the butt. So I'll just do that with epoxy putty and then sand everything down. See, I've sort of went in with a pen and done the outline where it's going to be. And the skull head, this is probably the heaviest modified part on the entire kit. I stripped the Zaku's head down all the way to the inner frame and even cut off some of the inner frame because obviously there's no snout here. And I used the top of the Zaku head, even had to trim some of it off on the very top there, and then just used epoxy putty to sculpt the skull head around it. And this isn't, it's probably about 99% done. I've still got a little bit of sanding to do on it, but, you know, it's 99% done. And the LED for the mono eye, let's see, that splits apart. Let's see if I can get this apart carefully. There we go. Alrighty. Let me focus. Alright, so the LED is down inside this clear part right here. Actually, that comes out. You got this big clear part right here. I've got the LED inside there. The wires go down through the neck joint. I just cut a hole in the bottom of the polycap. Actually, the polycap had a hole. I cut a hole in the bottom of the ball joint and just ran the wires through there. And then ran the wires through the back of the torso. Got a little battery pack and a switch here. And cuts on just like so. And luckily the backpack had plenty enough hollow space that it just fits right on top of there, no problem. As far as the backpack goes, turning it into a Zaku 1 backpack, I've puttied up those holes. I got to fill in that hole. I'll probably use plot plate for that. These little notches right there I got to fill in. And then put a piece of plot plate across the bottom there. I've got, I don't know, I'm trying to decide if I want to use these big Zaku 2 thrusters or if I want to try to make something smaller. I didn't have anything that really was appropriate in my scrap parts box, so I don't know. I'm either going to have to scratch build something or I'll just keep these thrusters. I haven't decided yet. But it actually looks pretty good once it's all put together. Let me slide this on here. and the wires are loose enough in there that it maintains the rotation. So mono eye is still perfectly capable of rotating. And the skull kind of fits on loosely, but it's okay. Sort of has to fit on there just right. Take this off and light up mono eye. Now when it's painted, I'll have the inside of that area painted black, so there won't be so much pink, like that sharp pink plastic showing through. So it should look a little bit better once it gets painted. Anyway, that does it for the torso. Let's see, Zaku 1's arms aren't very much different than the Zaku 2 at all. All I had to do was remove that peg for the shield on the right shoulder armor, and that's pretty much it. Oh wait, no. The Zaku 1 actually lacks elbow armor, so I had to remove the elbow armor, which I actually attached to the elbow joint, and then just cover that gap with epoxy putty and sand everything nice and smooth. And punch shield. The Dokuro Zaku doesn't really come with a punch shield or a machine gun, but I decided to go ahead and make them anyway because I already had the parts, and why not? So took the shield. You can see everything here is very dusty from all the sanding I've been doing. Chopped the spikes off of the shoulder armor, and then I sharpened them a bit. They were kind of like rounded on the end. They weren't very pointy, I guess, so kids like don't hurt themselves or whatever. So I sharpened those up a bit with some sandpaper and then just cemented them on there. And then I've got some tube that's about the same size as the handle for the Heat Hawk, and I'll just scratch build a handle to that'll just plug into that polycap there. So he'll have a punch shield. Shoulder armor, literally just chopped the spikes off with a saw and then filled in the holes with epoxy putty and sanded everything nice and smooth. And I think that just leaves the weapons. The Heat Hawk on the Dokuro Zaku is quite a bit larger, so I extended the main shaft a little bit. That's cemented in place. I'm hoping that holds up. I'm thinking it will, so hopefully that won't be too fragile. The blade is a bit larger. This is in the very rudimentary stages right now. This is literally just 2 pieces of ply plate cemented on the blade. I'm going to go in with some epoxy putty and fill in the gaps and then smooth everything out, trim this back a bit back here. And I think, according to the illustration, I'm going to have to make this little energy cable a bit longer. I've got some like smaller, like 1:100 scale pipe segments, and I've got some of these Kotobukiya little energy cables. I may use those. Those might not be big enough though, so I'll figure out something. And as for the machine gun, it's basically the Zaku 1's machine gun it's got like all the same parts as the Zaku 2 machine gun. They're just sort of arranged differently. So I cut out the main center part and scratch built this little box right here. And basically all of I still got to do like a little C-shaped thing that goes here. And then basically all the parts I'll cement on there. And that goes on the front. And then the handle will be cemented on the bottom like so. This guy goes over here. And then the scope will go up here. And then the ammo drum goes on this side over here on the side instead of the top. And I'll have to scratch build a little cone-shaped thingy to put on the back. And when I was doing the Black TriStar Zaku, I already had the LEDs wired up inside the machine gun, and it was really tricky. And I basically had to put the LED down in here, drill 2 teeny tiny little holes up through there. See? Very tiny little holes right there where the 2 LED connectors were. And then ran a wire through here down inside the machine gun, and actually had the battery and the switch inside the ammo drum, which is probably what I'm still going to do on the Zaku 1 version. I'll just have to cut a hole through here where the scope is going to connect, and then cut another hole through here where the ammo drum is going to connect. And then I'll just have the switch and the battery pack inside the ammo drum like last time, and the little LED should be able to light up the scope. So, I think that about does it for this work in progress video. I think that's everything I've done. I honestly don't have a whole lot to do. I've just been super busy this week, and I haven't had a whole lot of chance to work on him. But hopefully in the next couple weeks I'll be able to finish construction and then get this guy painted. I already went to the hobby store and bought a bunch of black paint and a bunch of primer. So I'm prepared to paint this guy. And I've just got a little bit more work left. The main things I got to finish now are the heat hawk and the machine gun and the chest plate and a couple other little odds and ends, and he'll be ready to go. So that does it for this work in progress video, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.